Hi, my name is Kelli Busey. I'm with the Dallas Transgender Advocates and Allies. I'm very concerned about the amendment that was passed by the Memphis City Council, and the reasons why it was passed is it was about 5 years ago, Dewana Johnson was beat unmercifully by a Memphis policeman who has since been dismissed from his job, fired, along with the person that policeman that was holding Dewana down during the beating. But the only thing that happened from that directly was a 7-hour class administered by Tennessee Equality Project, which is commendable on their behalf. But in perspective, you can't really expect that to have taken a major effect on the police department. From my own experiences right here in Fort Worth, I can tell you that normally the police department is the most resilient to changes because of the embedded machismo attitude, which is really necessary in the police department. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just a fact. So I don't see how 7 hours could have affected that very much. And it's pretty much evidenced by this passage of the amendment as it was passed, because it was basically brought about by the beating that Dewana took and her subsequent murder. She was executed, I'm going to say executed, with a few shots to the face a couple days before her lawsuit, federal lawsuit, was filed against the Memphis Police Department. So I think there's a lot more that's going on there that has been exposed by law enforcement. I think a lot more investigation needs to be done. I think a lot more can be learned. But also I think that there are the embedded transphobia that hasn't been approached by or exposed or discussed openly within the Memphis community needs to be talked about. I don't think that a LGBT amendment is meaningful for a number of reasons. One is that it does not do our dead sisters memory justice, and it doesn't do the future dead sisters, which will undoubtedly could be attributed to the lack of understanding by Memphis peoples in the future if this is ignored now. But more than that, I could pretty much say that gay people that act effeminately will not benefit from this amendment as it's passed. It deeply concerns me that nothing was said in the media about this at the time that the amendment was passed. The only way I learned that it was that the gender identity and expression was even included at all in it was by the opponents, who gloated over the fact it had been removed. We had been removed, those wordings. So even though I've been assured by local advocates that everything will be done, as of this time, right now, while I'm recording this, there's only a few days left before the amendment becomes finalized without transgender people. And when that happens, as we all know, we're just thrown under the bus for good. So I'm really calling on the Tennessee Equality Movement to get it up in arms, to show the rage. And I've had some that this deserves. I've had some advocates from the Memphis area say, well, where are the transgender people? How come they're not coming to the meetings? How come they're not advocating for themselves? I know from experience also that when we've passed ordinances, citywide ordinances here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's only been a few of us, and myself included, and I'm not bragging, but I'm saying there's only been a few of us that are willing to stand up and talk. In Memphis, it's more so. You can multiply that, the unwillingness by 100 times, because they're not just unwilling because they've been beaten. They're not just unwilling because they're hooking on the street and they're afraid to show their faces. They're not unwilling just because they have no jobs. They're unwilling because they're dead. This is my plea to the Memphis community to include transgender people in this amendment. You'll have the nation's respect if you do, and I understand it won't be easy, but from Dallas to Memphis, my love.